Hey, what's going on, Noah Nation? CJ Wilson here with Dope Talk. Of course, I am your host. Going to go ahead and break down a few things in regards to what's been going on at FSU. As you guys know, I typically do my post-game reaction breakdown, whatever you want to call it, for the game that week. We also have some more news to address as well. My apologies for getting on a late start. But guys, go ahead and tap in. Kind of going through some, I guess, house cleaning stuff as you may. We have a few people in. As you guys know, with these live settings and things, we'd rather you guys. I know a lot of people viewing on next, but if you could join over to the YouTube portion of the show, jump into the comments. The live comments are pretty active usually. And also, whenever I get through my spiel, you guys know we have the call-in portion. I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot to say within recent news of FSU. So again, with the call-in portion, make sure you guys tap in again on the YouTube. That's the only way you can call in order to get your takes off whatever you want to discuss in regards to recent events at FSU. You guys know I'll let you guys vent. You want to get your take off by the game, something specific, give a shout out, whatever it may be. That's your time to get whatever you want off of your chest. So again, if you're viewing over on the uh, Twitter feed, go ahead and join over to the YouTube and get active a little bit. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, man. Show a little love to Dope Talk as we try to grow and climb the YouTube algorithm and all that type of deal. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And shout out our new sponsor, man. Dope Talk does have a new sponsor. Shout out to FastPay. FastPay provides you a corporate MasterCard built for business expenses such as travel, lodging, entertainment, whatever you call it, shipping, you name it. They take care of you. You get 2.25 cash back in Evergreen. There's no annual fees and no monthly fees involved with FastPay. So again, you get more bang for your buck whenever you're doing any type of business transactions for your said business, no matter the size of the business, small business, large, whatever it may be. FastPay definitely has you covered in regards to all of your business expenses. All right. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into it and hang out a little bit. All right, guys, as you know, FSU lost on Friday night to NC State. Score ended up being 21-20 State. FSU ended up falling to 5-6 on the year. My apologies. Like I said, we started fall to 5-6 on the year in regards to the loss to NC State. 0-4 on the road. This is the third time this season that FSU has scored less than 14 points on the game in the game. And again, it's ironic that those three times that FSU scored less than 14 points, it came on the road. We've been discussing plenty on this show, on X, whatever. Just talk about FSU football in general, how it's two different damn teams. They're night and day from home and away. And a lot of people saying that we could possibly go 7-5 down the stretch. And I was saying it's a possibility, but I have to see it first due to how we've been playing on the road. Just don't feel confident in this team to go out and get a win on the road. And they proved just that. And it's pretty much in typical FSU fashion as well too. When I say typical FSU fashion, what we've been seeing in general in most of FSU's losses this season, you get down, you shoot yourselves in the foot X amount of times throughout the game, right? You get down double digits at a certain point in the game, and then the remainder of the game, you're pretty much clawing and fighting yourself back, and then you try to make it within the last 2 minutes or so. FSU ends up losing by one score or whatnot due to the hole they put themselves in initially by getting down by double digits, then fighting back, and then that type of deal. Of course, this game we didn't get it under double digits under this wasn't your game where we had your one score game where we come back, losing by 10 with this one. But of course, everything lined up for it to be one of those type of games. And of course, it was another weird game in Carter Finley Field. Probably the weirdest game I've been around. Well, the weirdest game I've seen, especially how that ended. We'll get to that in a second. Your typical night game, Friday night to NC State, right? Weird shit just happens. We outgained by close to 100 yards, 97 yards to be exact. But again, 4 turnovers to NC State 0, which is pretty much FSU all season, right? We were outgained the team, but For whatever reason, we can't score the points in the red zone, get turnovers and that type of deal. Abysmal special teams play. When I say abysmal, that abysmal special teams play. FSU was 1 for 3 on field goals, 2 muff punts. Probably the wildest sequence I've ever seen in playing football. I don't think I've ever seen a punt. Like I've been around a lot of football. I'm talking about from little league, Pop Warner flag football, city league tackle, middle school football, high school, prep school football, college football. Even been around pros a little bit, and just I never seen a play fall just how that play fell with the KJ Kirkland situation. As you guys know, and it's wild because the punter, it was a terrible punt by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I get into this spiel, super chats. If you guys want to, get your take off or have a comment off, get your comment off. Of course, I'm in and out of the comment section. Don't really dabble in it too much when I'm getting into my spiel. But any type of super chats will be highlighted immediately, and we will read and get your takes off. Show a little love, man. But yeah, I never seen a play like that. And it's crazy because NC State got rewarded for a terrible play on their end, right? The punter specifically got rewarded directly got rewarded for kicking a terrible punt. So again, it's a terrible kick and it's very short. And Squirrel pretty much calls a Peter call. And as you guys aren't familiar with Peter, fire whatever you're taught is pretty much means run away from run away. The ball is short. Just get away from run to the sideline. That's what coaches technically teach you. Run to the sideline just to avoid from the ball hitting you due to the ball falling short on a short kick and bouncing, doing that type of deal. As you guys know, footballs are weird shaped balls, and they bounce all over the place whenever whenever they hit the ground. So I never seen a situation to where KJ was he got the Peter call from Squirrel, and he's literally running to the damn sideline, and the ball hits him directly in the head. Right, the ball hits him directly in the head, and I've never seen this before. The ball literally hit him directly in the head and bounced 20 yards down the field, 20 to 25 yards downfield, and falls directly into the punter's lap, right? Like the craziest damn situation, the odds and chances of that play happening exactly like it is probably less than 1%, right? But of course it happened to NC State. What happened for NC State in on the road, Carter Philly Field, typically your FSU NC State type of game, like I just stated, right? So we have that play to where the ball literally bounces right back to the punter after shanking a terrible kick on his behalf. FSU does their job again, right? Goes 3 and out. On the third down play, though, FSU ended up dropping a critical pick by Edwin Joseph. You hear this all the time in football, and it typically happens on the offensive end, but it's just the next play, right? But the bad part about it for FSU, the next play was a damn punt. But typically, whenever you drop a gimme picking on defense, you say to yourself, you need to capitalize on that because you're going to end up biting you come back to bite you, at a certain point in the game. And typically that drive, like literally the next play or something, you end up giving up a touchdown or something like that. But if you end up catching that pick and capitalizing on that opportunity, the drive is over, this, that, and the third. You don't give them more opportunities to make more plays within that drive, right? The bad part for FSU was within that drive, it was another punt opportunity, and Squirrel White ended up muffing that punt, and then the rest is history. And we put the defense in another tough situation within the red zone. So yeah, crazy situation in regards to how that played out. It was literally 3 plays, and when I look at that interception opportunity as the biggest one, because if we catch that interception, Edwin Joseph, he caught that interception on FSU's 45-yard line or something along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. He caught that with room to run. So at the very minimum, he gets, say, 10 yards. Very minimum 10 yards, right? You put yourself on the opponent's plus 45 and give yourself an opportunity to, a few more yards and this, that, and the third, you could play yourself in field goal range. I say could because we know how Jake has been struggling. But long story short, you give yourself an opportunity, a very high opportunity to possibly score a touchdown and take the lead within that game. So that's why dropping that interception was so critical. And then, of course, FSU gets, shot in the foot. When I never say shot in the foot, it was pretty much a on straight up head shot, punch to the gut, muff punt by Squirrel White. And the defense still made a pretty tough stand within that. Got NC State the fourth down. NC State was close to actually kicking the field goal, which I thought was kind of stupid, but came back and decided, no, I was going to go ahead and try to win the game, this, that, and the third. And they went for it on fourth down and ended up converting on that fourth down catch. So that's pretty much the spiel of how the game kind of went. We're going to jump into some offense and defense. And then we got some other stuff we got to discuss. A lot more things that we have to discuss in regards to, what's been going on with FSU football. So let's talk about offense specifically. All right, offense specifically, another terrible day at the office, right? NC State. This is an NC State team that's pretty much been giving up. This is not a good defense. This defense has not been good all year. This NC State team has given up 36 points per game against P4 teams thus far in the season. End up holding FSU well below that to 11 points within the game. The first drive, we're moving the damn ball and even with that, it was some few throws that we could, a few big plays that we could have had. Two deep shots to Makai, one of Makai Dansley and one to Deuce Robinson. Both of those guys didn't catch those balls cleanly. Ended up dropping those balls, but if a little better throws by the quarterback, then those guys could have been running for a touchdown. It was pretty much both of those throws were pretty much underthrown. And then we had the huge overthrow to Wayne McCoy that ended up being picked off on the Tommy Castellano drive. And then there was another drive where we pretty much the same thing as far as shooting ourselves in the foot. It was another drive where we're driving to get into the red zone. As soon as we get into the red zone, we have 3 straight penalties, forcing a missed field goal. FSU was 5 of 12 on third down, less than 50%. Just not winning football, man. Not winning football at all. I feel like we should have ran the football a lot more than what we did. Had 180 yards rushing on 34 attempts, but more touches to the running backs, right? Gavin Sawchuk was your leading carry by RBs with 8 carries. Waddell has 7. We had 11 runs from Tommy, which I'm not upset with as far as Tommy getting 11 touches. He's looked more better running the ball within the last few games. I think that ankle injury that he suffered early in the season is close to being healed. He has that burst again that we saw early in the season. So he was very effective running the football. I'm not upset with 11 carries from him. I just need more carries around the board from the other running backs, especially when you're being efficient in running the football. Moving on to passing the football. He was 16 for 32 passing, 50%. I mean, it doesn't get more descriptive than that when you're talking about, I guess, a percentage in what Tommy is as a passer. His deficiencies were put on screen loud and clear. I mean, he's just who he is as a quarterback. Bad mechanics at certain times, doesn't have his feet up under him and all that type of deal, and throws a lot of erratic passes. Can't see consistently over the line of scrimmage due to height and things like that. So he's limited in reading the middle of the field and making those throws over the middle of the field, as we saw with that. Even with that errant overthrow from the Wayne, it was a clean pocket. Actually, the ball just got away from him. But again, terrible throw on his part. But he is who he is at this point in time. And this is the good with the bad that kind of comes with Tommy. What we knew coming into the season. 32 pass attempts is way too much. Way too much. Run the ball more. Run the ball more. Every game in which we get into 30 plus pass attempts with Tommy, it kind of ends the same. Now again, in every game that we have these 30 plus pass attempts, it goes to my point, and we lose, of course. And it goes to my point about getting behind 10 plus points and kind of clawing back. You kind of gotta pass. But it was certain situations to where you don't really have to get away from yourselves and force the throw, in my opinion. And that's what we did a lot. 16 for 32. And I know people give Gus offense a lot of flack in that type of deal, man. But the main thing that we're missing is just a consistent, accurate passer. If you have a consistent, accurate passer, a lot of this stuff looks a lot better, man, because there was a lot of plays that were open. In my opinion, Tommy is the biggest thing that's holding the offense back, and that's just being a consistent passer. But again, Tommy and Gus are pretty much tied to the hip. This is the quarterback he wanted specifically out of the transfer portal, and that's what we got. Wayne McCoy ended up getting hurt early in the game, which did hurt the passing game. He was on fire too. once with Dew struggling earlier to kind of get open and get his things going. He had 3 catches for 45 yards. If Tommy doesn't overthrow that pass within the red zone, that was another 15 to 20 plus yarder in my opinion. So we're looking at probably 4 catches for 60 plus yards all in the first quarter before he got hurt. So Lawayne was definitely off to a field day, well, a career day type of game. Ended up getting injured, unfortunately. But again, Lawayne McCoy has looked very good for FSU. I love what the receiver has done in his sophomore year, even though the stats hasn't reflected it specifically. But we've all been watching the game and watch how open he gets and how many balls he could have and how many yards he could have if things were consistent. It was good to get Javon Bars back as well, too. He had 4 catches for 56 yards in replacement of Lawayne McCoy. You guys know how high FSU has been on Bars. We all heard the preseason hype and all that type of deal. What he brings to the table was the first true freshman start for FSU at receiver in a very long time. So again, going back to his high school career, I mean, this what's understood will need to be said. You guys know how I am on Bars and just all the stuff he's done on the high school level and the prep level, winning Mr. Florida, having the most receiving yards in a game in the state of Florida history. That says a lot. So Boggs is going to be a big-time player for FSU's future. It was good to get him back within this game, and it was pretty much a seamless transition when McCoy got injured to Boggs. So having him back was definitely a good thing. But yeah, man, the offense, in my opinion, 11 points. But the main issue that I saw on offense was just inconsistency by the quarterback position, man. This offense pretty much, I guess, lives and dies with how Tommy performs. And from the passing standpoint, he has been very, very underwhelming the last few games. All right, guys. But yeah, I think, like I said, Tommy has been the biggest issue, in my opinion, with the offense the last few games and why it struggles in certain areas. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and transition over to the defensive side of the ball. Won't be too long on the defense. Really don't have that many issues with the defense at all. But make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you're viewing on X, transition over to the YouTube and show a little love. We're going to get into the call-in portion really quick and kind of pretty soon, and then open things up from there. Defensively, again, I was pleased with the defense overall. We held NC State to less than 300 yards given up. We held the running back in check. Smothers, Hollywood Smothers has been one of the better backs in the ACC this season. 21 touches for 84 yards. Really good job. And they tried to force feed him the ball and be consistent with him because he's a good damn running back. They try to be consistent with trying to get him the ball, but FSU was consistent on their end in being, consistent on stopping the run. Shout out to DJ, man. He had a hell of a game. He's been having a hell of a year thus far, but his game was pretty much tailor made for him as, NC State tried to bully ball us a little bit, and DJ showed up. Had a really good game. And like I stated, we pretty much held them in check, and we know what Tony White wants to do as a defensive coordinator, right? And what he has done at previous stops, and that's stop the run. And I know we struggled early in the season to stop the run at certain situations, but this team has done a pretty good job with that as of late. The only issue that kind of stood out to me on defense was that 15-play, 9-minute drive that ended up a touchdown for NC State at the end of that drive. And whenever they got in that little I'm not gonna say fourth and short, just that short conversion situation, between third and 2 to 4th and 2 and short. They went with that bigger quarterback and had that QB power type of thing going. On one play, we had 12 men on the field. Egregious. We can't have that. That's a penalty that we cannot have. We have to be more aware in that situation. So that was the only issue I had with the defense, that 9-minute 15-play drive, 12 men on the field that ended up for a touchdown. But yeah, Tony White's defense has only gave up more than 30 points twice this year. Are we being real? Are we keeping this shit consistent, right? I want to keep it being. We gave flack, we gave criticism when it was old. We should give props when it's old as well. Tony White has only gave up 30 points twice this year. The last time that happened came against Pittsburgh. The last 5 games, FSU has given up 17 points per game. I repeat, the last 5 games, FSU has given up 17 points per game. The last 5 games, FSU is giving up 17 points per game. Like, we should be 5-0 in these games, right? I mean, less than 17 points per game. And again, Tony White had the most efficiencies on his side of the ball when looking at the offense and defense coming into the season, especially with this 3-3-5 defense. So we know within that you have to have dogs on the front seven, right? Defensive line, linebackers, those two have to pretty much work together and coincide together to be effective within his defense. And those were our biggest deficiencies. Well, two of the biggest deficiencies coming to the season was defensive line, linebacker, and of course, offensive line play. So two of those issues were on his side of the ball, and he's done a really good job with working with what he has to work with. Again, had criticism early, and rightfully so. Kept trying different things to try to find, and he was pretty much honest about it too. And even in his press conferences, hey, I'm hold everybody accountable. It falls on us, this, that, and the third. But he was, trying different ways and trying different things to see what works within the defense. But I think he's got these guys playing really well. They're starting to hit their stride. And I think, again, we're starting to see the Tony White we thought we were getting when we hired him from Nebraska, right? 4 straight top 25 defenses at Nebraska and Syracuse combined. I think FSU was like top 30, if I'm not mistaken. Prior to this game, FSU was top 30 in total defense. FSU could very well end up being a top 25 defensive team when the season ends. So again, this is what we thought we were getting with Tony White as a defensive coordinator. He needs more players to run his scheme. That goes from a recruiting standpoint, which they've kind of been addressing. We'll see what they do from a portal standpoint, but I have no issues with what Tony White has been doing. And also, his defense was put in some very uncomfortable ass situations, man. Sudden change situations. You talk about those those 2 fumbles or whatever. Y'all seen Mike Norvell the entire time on the sideline, pumping his chest. He was probably shaking and shit while doing that, knowing this loss could. Well, I'm not gonna say because that clearly didn't happen, but how this loss could have affected his job, this, that, and the third. And him pounding his chest as defense, pretty much telling those guys to hold strong. And that's exactly what they did. Got to a 4th down situation. I think it was on the 4th and goal. Shamar Arnold gave up that TD, which I don't have. Of course, I'm upset with the TD, but it is what it is when it comes to that point. The kid had pretty damn good coverage. Actually got a hand on the ball. The difference between him making that play and giving up that touchdown is just getting stronger, more time in the weight room. The guy that made that catch for NC State, we look it up real quick. He was clearly bigger and more developed than Shamar. Number 7, Justin Jolly. We're talking about a kid that's tight end. He's 6'3", 255, 251. So again, the kid, if Shamar, more years in the weight room, more years in regards to strength and conditioning, getting developed and becoming a more physically developed player. He's a true freshman, like I stated, who really just kind of got to campus. The more years he gets off field in the program, he makes that play. That's a pass breakup, and FSU is going the other way down 3. So I don't really have and it's kind of what when you play freshman that early, you kind of live and die by it in regards to certain plays. And that play specifically is something you got to die by. It comes with it. And I don't really have an issue with Shamar Arnold with that play. Like I say, he was in great position. Just going up against a tight end, that's bigger and stronger than him in more years in the weight room. He wasn't able to finish that play. But I think he's going to be perfectly fine moving forward. So again, going back to the defense and how those guys have been playing under Tony White, they've done a hell of a job, in my opinion. You got to give Tony White praise. We'll see how things shake at the end of the season. Of course, there's the UCLA rumors and all of that type of deal. But I'm excited to see what Tony White has in store moving forward if he does elect to stay with FSU. All right, guys, let's kind of get into this spiel. Harlan, you can kind of do it right now. Before we get started again, make sure you guys, not get started, I just want to talk about this announcement from FSU in regards to Mike Norvell being kept. Again, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're watching via X, transition over to the YouTube, come hang out. Again, hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds to show a little bit of love, and subscribe if you guys haven't already. We're going to I'm pretty sure this is what everybody wants to hear, right? And kind of talk about this announcement. So we're going to open up the phone lines pretty soon as well. The FSU recently announced that Mike Norvell will be coming back for his 7th year for FSU. It was announced yesterday. Vote of confidence from the president, AD, board of trustees, and all that type of deal in regards to Mike Norvell. What went into that decision for him to come back? I guess we could talk about that a little bit, which is kind of interesting. I felt like Mike Norvell needed to go 7-5 down the stretch to come back for FSU. I felt like if he would have did that, I was pretty confident they would be the head coach. I thought after this NC State game that may have been a nail in the coffin, but clearly that wasn't the case. And again, if FSU really wanted to fire Mike Norvell, they could have earlier in the season after certain losses. But Mike Alford was pretty strong in his statement in regards to will evaluate things as season end and kind of go from there. One game before the last game of the season against Florida, they did announce it. Now, people are asking, like, was it a money situation, all that type of deal? Well, it clearly had to be a money situation as to why they didn't move on from Mike Norvell. I don't think so. I don't think it was a money situation specifically. I think FSU, they were able to collect the money. The money was in place, so to speak, if absolutely needed or if everybody agreed to, make that move in regards to fire Mike Norvell. I don't think the money would have been the issue. The issue is the people with the money being completely off board or being, still having some hope or belief in Mike Norvell and what he can do with certain changes and things like that. I feel like that was the disconnect, and that was the reason why Mike Norvell was retained. It wasn't the fact that they were scrambling to get $100 million. It was the fact that spending that $100 million or everyone agreed to spend that $100 million in replacing a new coach and being completely out on Mike Norvell and, that type of deal and kind of moving on from him. And once everyone wasn't on board, I guess a unanimous decision for that $100 million. When I say $100 million, I'm talking about in totality. $100 million, when I say in totality, you're paying Mike 60 or so, whatever that buyout is, you're paying Mike his money. Of course, you brought in new coaches from a coordinator standpoint and Tony White and Gus Malzahn, a few new pieces as far as your offensive line coach, your receiver coach, defensive line coach, and your safety coach, and Evan Cooper. So those guys, you pretty much got to pay the remainder of their contract out. Then you have to hire a new head coach, right? And then on top of hiring a new head coach, you have to hire his staff, offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, all field, the entire 9 yards. So combining all of that with the quality hire, you're probably looking at like $100 million, right? So that's where y'all get the $100 million number from in regards to that. But again, the money wasn't an issue as far as we are trying to collect and I guess reach out to people that have the money. They reached out to the people that had the money, and again, the money was in place if need be. It's just the fact of everyone getting on board to put that money in that area, and everyone being on board and saying Mike Norvell isn't the fit for FSU. We need to make a change, and that type of deal. Could this have played a factor? Possibly so. When I say this, I mean the coaching landscape in regards to what's available in the position in the coaching positions that are open. What we have: Penn State, LSU, Florida, Auburn, Arkansas, maybe a few more that could be opening up at a certain time. Virginia Tech just recently got filled. So you're looking at that landscape and saying, okay, keep him for another year, possibly depending on what he does, win, lose, or draw. I guess moving forward next year, you could possibly fire him and not be able to compete with said programs for a coach, right? And also, the schedule is a lot tougher next year. When I say it's a lot tougher, that schedule is pretty damn tough next year. So they maybe want Mike Norvell to fall on the sword next year versus a new head coach taking the brunt of that 2026 schedule within their new tenure. And just to kind of give you guys a look at the 26 schedule, you're going to Alabama, you play Florida, you play Clemson, NC State. You have SMU, Virginia, Louisville, Miami, and Pitt, and all of these teams are NC State, SMU, Virginia, Louisville, Miami, and Pitt. All 5 of those teams have won 8+ games, and then of course you have your Florida, and you play at Alabama this year. So it's a pretty tough schedule next year. We could have had Notre Dame on that schedule as well, but again, it's a pretty tough schedule next year. So that may be their thinking as well. But I do know for a fact that if the money wasn't an issue as far as reaching out to the people to collect $100 million, so to speak. The issue was getting everybody on board to make that move. Now, this was another point that I want to kind of touch on that I guess is the most important part. Well, I'm not gonna say the most important part. The most important part is, them deciding to keep Mike Norvell. But another key factor that they're talking about, and this is a direct quote from Collins, the president of the board of trustees. In addition to addressing the reality that the on-field result has been far from acceptable to the FSU standard, we also realize our responsibilities as stewards of program revenues and how to best allocate those dollars to compete at an elite level, something we will not compromise. Throughout the assessment, one goal remained beyond all others, achieving sustained championship level of success. We will address performance deficiencies in the program. Those deficiencies may include structural changes to the very large and complex program FSU football has become, and these areas are where we will focus and invest. So I guess reading the tea leaves with that, they're pretty much talking about NIL, of course. They're talking about the GM role, in my opinion, how that kind of works within this new college football landscape in off-field guys or the position guys. So with that being said, what changes could they possibly make? I think Derek Gray would be one of the first changes that could possibly happen. The GM for FSU. I think some position coaches could be going as well. What position coaches?
You're
Maybe Tony
fired.
Toad. Yeah, exactly. One more time.
You're fired.
One more time.
You're fired.
So again, we're going to see a lot of that, in my opinion. Tony Tozarts could be a guy that falls on the sword. John Pachulis as well. We're speaking about Tony Tozarts. The development of quarterbacks haven't been great under him, just to be completely honest with you. He had a 1 year with Jordan Travis, but the majority of Jordan Travis' development, as we know, went to previous offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham, and in their relationship, he had 3 years to kind of work with Travis. We've seen DJU and his development, so to speak, at FSU went down. We've seen Brock Glenn hasn't really gotten better, even though Brock Glenn's situation is a rare situation in regards to how he's been kind of thrown in the fire at FSU. Still, the facts remain, the development hasn't been great there as well, too. And then we go to Tommy Castellano again. What development we're talking about is pretty much the same quarterback that we've been seeing throughout his career. From a recruiting standpoint, he hasn't done a good job recruiting. He when you talk about evals and that type of deal, you look at Luke Cromahawk. Luke is what? I think third string at Mississippi State or something along those lines. The long list of AJ Duffy, the long list of quarterbacks that have pretty much fizzled out at FSU, and of course Mike Norvell is. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying Mike Norvell isn't a part of the issue with this. We're just talking about certain changes within the room that could possibly happen. So again, Tony Tozarts, and I think, in my opinion, that was a lazy hire in the first damn place. Once Kenny Dillingham kind of went his separate ways, you just pretty much just promoted from within, and with the lazy hire, you could have gotten a lot better, in my opinion, for that position. That position is too important to just make a lazy hire and just promote within for it. A Chris Winkie at Georgia Tech, that could be a guy. But again, this is something that could be easily taken care of, or easily, I guess you could say, this could have been evaluated a lot better. John Pachulis, linebackers coach, special teams coordinator as well. Special teams hasn't been special at all. Jake has been struggling this year. And Jake struggling this year isn't a surprise to me. I want to be patient with him, kind of like how I was patient with Ryan Fitzgerald. Ryan struggled early on in his career and became one of the better kickers in FSU history. Jake is still a redshirt freshman. So, again, don't want to put too much on him in regards to that. But again, we saw Sunday. Special teams has been terrible. Friday, how bad special teams was. The 2 turnovers we had on special teams. We've been trying to find for the past, 2 years or so, someone that could field a punt cleanly. Right? Someone that could field a punt cleanly. We haven't blocked the kick, which is something we've done a good job at FSU under John Pachulis and Mike Norvell since 2000 and I think last year maybe? Of course, the most notable kick we blocked was against LSU, but I think that could have been that 2022 may have been the last time we got into a situation like that. Maybe 2024 last year. I can't remember specifically, but we haven't been that efficient in regards to blocking kicks and that type of deal. Kick return, the few kick returns we do get, we pretty much could have fair caught those and got to the 25. Everyone pretty much returned is prior to the 25. So special teams hasn't been great. And from a positional standpoint, we know he's not a great recruiter. He's lost a lot of defensive ends from the high school level. Kevin Falk is one that we lost, just to name specifically. Hasn't really brought in any elite defensive end from a recruiting standpoint. He's the current linebacker coach now. We're talking about now. He has had portal success. Don't look with Kier Thomas, Jared Verse, Jermaine Johnson. Those three guys. Yeah, and that's pretty much, in my opinion, those three guys have gave Coach Pap a 6-year career at FSU, which again isn't good enough. We're talking about three, and that just shows the level the program has been the last few years. If you go through Jimbo's heyday or Bobby's heyday, we're talking about 3 defensive linemen within 6 years. We're like, what the fuck? That's not the standard, right? So again, we're hyping that up, but at the same damn time, is that really good? So again, John Petruis is a guy that I can see possibly being axed as well. So what that leaves you, then you got to look at this. Gus Malzahn is being flirting with Arkansas. There's concerns that he could leave for Arkansas. So you could be in a position where you're looking at a completely new offensive coordinator. And let's dig a little bit deeper. Herb Hand, your offensive line coach, who's done a hell of a job. A hell of a job. I'm talking about, I don't think we've been talking enough about how good Coach Herb Hand, how good he's been, and just how good he's been in regards to turning around his offensive lines, being one of the worst in NC2A, G5, P4, whatever it may be, to being a respectable bunch and not being average, being pretty solid. So to have that year one jump is miraculous, but I say that to say this. We know Herb and Gus are pretty much tied at the hip, right? Would Herb Hand go to Arkansas with a Gus Malzahn? And with that, maybe a co-offensive coordinator title, some bullshit like that to get extra money. So again, you could be looking at a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive line coach included with all of this. So that's where things kind of get murky, because you could be in a situation to where you were last year after going 2-10 with Mike Norvell, kind of hitting the reset and that type of deal. Let's unfold or unpack this thing a little bit further. What coach? Now, coaches will do it, but what respectable coach would kind of want to tie their future to a possible? We say possible. I'm going to say possible because it could, how this administration has been making decisions, it could be a lot longer, but for a possible 9-month stay at FSU with Mike Norvell job still kind of being up in limbo going into the 2026 season. What respectable coach is going to kind of take that risk, especially after seeing, you're back in the coordinator hunt, position coach hunt again after the prior year. So the writing could be on the wall in that situation. But again, that's my take on that in regards to the announcer from FSU and what they feel like how they can navigate it. We're talking about Derek Ray and NIL money as well. I think, and I did make this tweet as far as NIL and now that type of deal. And I said throwing money at certain situations, saying we're going to beef up support staff, beef up recruiting, and all that type of deal, when FSU have been losing to teams consistently that has less than them. Is that really fixing the issue? So this is where my take on Derek Ray kind of comes in, because he is a GM and he kind of, I guess, decides on what's what as far as allocating money this way, allocating money this way, what position should be a higher value versus what position shouldn't be, that type of deal. So if you get someone that knows how to evaluate, that's the main thing. Fuck the money. Fuck having the resources as far as influx of resources being put in, because if you're just throwing down money and you're an irresponsible spender, you're not spending it responsibly and correctly, then you're still in the same situation you were previously to the influx of cash, right? So you need someone who can allocate those funds and identify talent and identify certain things, identify needs responsibly. So that GM position is very important. So if you get somebody who does that and is good in that position, you make a home run hire there plus the influx of cash that you could be getting for those position battles in NIL when you try to go to the portal to grab certain guys and things like that, then that could be a good thing moving forward for FSU. Now, are these are changes FSU should have been making, regardless of Mike Norvell as the head coach or not. So again, if they were we're in a place to fire Mike Norvell, if they were to fire Mike Norvell, I still think these type of changes and upgrades were needed for FSU. But we're talking about something on a national scale and FSU issues. We're not competing on that national level just yet. Yeah, we're trying to compete just to be consistently good in the ACC. So a lot of that stuff kind of falls back on Mike Norvell's shoulder. But again, within the announcement for FSU, this is how I foresee those changes possibly coming. So I think you kind of off-field, a new off-field as far as the GM and whatever position groups that you kind of, decide to put around the GM. I do think we need more off-field recruiting positions as well too. I think we have really good. Shout out to Coach Dale Press. That's my guy, local guy, Cookman guy as well too. He's one of our better off-field recruiters. But the issue with that is we only have one dev. These schools that recruit at a high level, they have multiple guys off field that that you can collaborate with and build on. So I do think we need to build and beef up the off field staff in that capacity. But that's my take on that. We'll see how it plays out. Again, they decided to bring Mike Norvell back. I'm going to open the phone lines in a second if I get off this one more take in regards to recruiting, because of course we've had some recruiting news as of late. But again, FSU decides to bring Mike Norvell back, elects to beef up off-field support and that type of deal. And one thing, Bud Elliott tweeted this out too and made a good point. I think on the Cover 3 podcast, he stated that Mike Alford has pretty much been against the NIL collective type of deal. He's pretty much been on the cap side of things. He's been he's been pretty much lobbying for the cap side of things versus that. So he thinks that could be a little bit of bullshit as far as bringing in that type of money. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. All right, guys, I'm going to transition real quick to recruiting, but again, got to pay a little bit of bills. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe. If you haven't already, shout out to FastPay. Make sure you guys check out my guys at FastPay, a corporate MasterCard built for any type of business expenses that you guys may have. 2.25 in Cashback and Evergreen. No annual fee, no monthly fee. Shout out to FastPay. Make sure you guys tap in. All right, we're going to open up the phone lines. Let's get the link ready. I do have one more take I want to get going, but I want to get you guys prepared if you guys do want to call into the show. Last thing I do have, FSU, as far as from last week to this week, we do have some recruiting news. FSU got a few commitments on the recruiting front. All right, the first one we're going to speak about is junior college Jalen Anderson. He's a JUCO receiver. I'm sorry, not JUCO receiver. My apologies. A JUCO edge rusher from Pearl River. He is from the Palm Beach area, if I'm not mistaken, standing at 6'3", 241 pounds. I like this kid a lot. Pretty good get for FSU. The next one, Jordan Crunchfield. 6'3", 200-pound safety that was committed to University of Kentucky from Vero Beach. Again, when it comes to defensive backs, it's not many defensive backs or just defensive players in general, but speaking about specifically defensive backs, when it comes to defensive backs, it's not many guys that I look at as far as from an evaluation standpoint. There's not many guys that I hold in higher regard than Mark Stoops. As you guys know, Mark Stoops, former FSU defensive coordinator, has been a long time Kentucky head coach since 2013, over 10 years. So Crunchfield was committed to the University of Kentucky. He is from Florida. I trust Mark Stoops' evals when it comes to defensive backs, man. So I think this could be a pretty good gift for FSU as well. Amari Thomas, four-star running back from Florida, has flipped his commitment from South Carolina back to FSU. You guys know he is from the Panhandle area, was committed to FSU, but elected to flip his commitment to South Carolina over the summer, with the Gamecocks struggling a lot worse than FSU is. And I guess with it being local, he was a frequent on campus throughout the season, decided to stick with his original thought and flip back to the Seminoles. I know a lot of fans weren't really pleased with, I guess, us still courting and entertaining Thomas, including myself, especially how things went down. I feel like, we're FSU. We could have, if you want to play like that, we could just move on and go get another kid. But clearly, we haven't been able to get another kid within the running back room and for the running back room. And Thomas is a pretty damn good player. I will not deny that. The kid can play. The next and last recruit I want to speak about is Damon Lewis, and I like this kid a lot. Edge rusher from Charlotte, 6'4", 245 pounds. He had a top 5 of Texas, Texas A&M, Washington, USC, and NC State. I really like this kid, man. Looking at this film, I think he could be a big-time player for FSU. Really good kid. I was actually shocked he committed to FSU, especially within recent weeks after losing to NC State and that type of deal. But he did enjoy his official visit to FSU, and I'm telling you, man, like FSU and Tallahassee is still a special place when it comes to certain things, and that resonated with Damon Lewis. Speaking of recruiting, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 defensive linemen committed for this cycle. I love it. I'm very pleased with that. So the coaches clearly understand the importance of what's needed within their scheme to be successful. Tony White and that type of deal. 7 defensive linemen within this cycle. I want a lot more. So again, I like that from that standpoint in regards to bringing in defensive linemen. Now we just kind of hit the portal a little bit, hit the portal hard, and get some high caliber guys that could come in and play right away. Because I do feel very comfortable with the twins, of course, both twins. I think they're going to be stars for FSU. And of course, we have defensive linemen. What's the defensive line? Kevin Wynn as well, and a few other highly regarded defensive linemen for FSU that ended up redshirting this past year. Then, of course, we have Amari as well, Amari Williams. So is it Amari Williams? Shit. Yeah, Amari Williams going into being a full-time edge rusher. So if we get a few guys out of the portal that can play right away, I think that defensive line could be pretty damn good. And I want to see, kind of piggybacking going to the Mike Norvell situation. I do want to see year 2 of this staff, especially from the defensive side, and what they could do as far as recruiting, development, and that type of deal. Year 2, you're more comfortable in the system, this, that, and the third. Year 2, you get more time to bring your players in. Typically, the 2027 recruiting class is what you will see from a new staff as far as the paying dividends, right? The hard work you've put in as far as recruiting. The 2027 class would show that for this new staff, as in the one that you been developing a relationship for a year and that type of deal. That typically pays off or would pay off within this 2027 recruiting cycle. So I do want to see that and see how these coaches perform in that regard and bringing their players, how they recruit and development. Shit, the recruiting itself is from the last 2 cycles, this cycle and how they closed on signing day last year, are worlds better than what Mike Norvell has brought in previously, in my opinion. The only issue with this new staff, and it's not their fault, it's just they're tied to the previous 5 years of Mike Norvell. And once you're tied to the previous 5 years of Mike Norvell, you're pretty much consumed and pretty much tied into all of them. You're a part of it, right? So we hold them in regards to, I guess you could say, it's just pretty much a reflection of the head coach. Simple as that. And I just thought of this. This is my last take. I know I'm kind of going back, but this was another issue I had with Mike Norvell going back to the NC State game. We were down 10, and we were driving, and we let it to. So pretty much we had to get a field goal and a touchdown, which we knew, right? Mike elected to kick that 50-yard field goal with Jake from the right hash, which is a spot he has been struggling with consistently, versus going for it on 4th and short. In my opinion, that was a no-brainer. There's no way in hell I'm kicking a 50-plus yard field goal with my freshman kicker, who's already struggling confidence-wise, in my opinion, versus going for it on a 4th and short situation. All right, guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Any callers want to join in, the phone lines are open. Harlan, let's throw that link back up. The phone lines are open. And speaking about to recruiting, I said we have, 7 defensive line committed thus far within the cycle. I said defensive line and linebackers are the most important positions within this. I guess safety as well. So you got to have dogs after safety, which we're cool at. But within this defense, you got to have dogs at linebacker, and you got to have dogs on the defensive line. Isaiah Williams is a linebacker I like a lot. This is the kid that been committed 30 damn times. But again, this is a kid, like I tweeted this a while ago. After watching this kid's film, I understand why certain coaches put up with the bullshit this kid, did within the recruiting process as far as, that type of deal. As far as just courting this kid throughout the entire process. He's a baller. Even though he hasn't played this year due to injury, once he comes back healthy, he's a different type of backer. And when I say a different type of backer, he's physical, he's violent, he's fast. He's just the type of backer FSU has been needing, and the type of backer that can flourish within this defense. So I like the linebacker recruiting class. I like Williams, like I just stated. I also like the kid out of Miami, Florida. Karan Mayock. I like Mayock a lot. He's an underrated kid. He's a 3-star, but again, you guys know I don't really care too much about the stars and that type of deal. I'd rather look at film, and I'd rather look at the offer sheet. This is a kid that had offers from Florida, had offers from Alabama, had offers from Miami, and Texas offered him, I want to say, within the last month or so as well, too. So those two guys I'm really high on in regards to what they could do, man. And then Noah Lavelli, he's a good player as well. So those two backers, specifically Mayock and Williams, I like that. So you add those guys in within the defensive line, you can kind of build on that. All right. Anybody want to join the call-in portion? Don't be all so shy. We had a lot to say on the timeline and that type of deal within the last few days. I want to hear it here. We got over 1,300 people hanging out. I'm pretty sure the majority of these guys are on X. Again, come over to the YouTube portion of the show, hang out with us, hit that like and subscribe button, tap into the show. Let's chop it up a little bit. And then we got the rivalry against Florida this week. I mean, Florida is terrible. I mean, straight ass. This is one of the worst Florida teams I've seen, and I've seen some bad fucking Florida teams. This team is straight dumpster juice. DJ clearly isn't generational like they stated he was, and that type of deal hasn't been playing that great. But on the flip end, we're playing them on the road in the swamp. FSU is even more ass on the road. 0-4 on the road, haven't won a true road game since 2023. Funny, ironically, the last true road game FSU won was the Florida game 2023. So that's kind of ironic. But again, that's ironic, and it's sad at the same damn time that it's been 2 fucking years since you won a road game. So again, your last road win was against the Florida Gators in 2023. On the flip end, your last road game was against the Florida Gators in 2023. So until these guys do it, I just don't see it, man. I don't predict. I don't really like predicting the L's in rivalry games, but these guys getting together on the road, I don't see it. And then shout out to the Gators too, man. It was a night game. I guess it was a night game as well. Played Tennessee, which was a rivalry game. But for those guys to be so terrible and win 3 games, the swamp was pretty packed this past Saturday when Tennessee went down and throttled their ass. So shout out to those Gator fans, man. You guys are a loyal bunch. You pat the stadium, you pat the swamp. You was there to see the ass whooping, and you stayed consistent with that. So shout out to you guys, man. I do expect a rowdy atmosphere in Gainesville, Florida this weekend for the Ass Bowl. And I mean, when I say ass bowl, I mean BBL ass, like nasty ass. Nothing soft, nothing curvy, like just a bad BBL job ass. That's how ass Florida and Florida State is. All right. I don't think we got anybody that want to chime in and tap into the call-in portion. Anything I missed on my end. So we'll see what FSU does, man. My last little take, this is going to be the toughest part for Alfred, and we'll see how creative they can get. And this is my last take, man, on this. It's going to be tough to go on the road, go to these booster club meetings and things like that, and ask people for more money. It's going to be tough. So you have to do a good job of selling in regards to getting people excited for the 2026 season. For the 2025 season, even though we went 2-10, you were able to kind of, I guess you could say, you were able to build up excitement and get people back interested again by making changes at the coordinator position and bringing in the Gus Malzahn and of course the Tony White. This year, I don't know if we could do that again. We will see how that happens. What ways they do get creative in doing that. And also, my last take on this, I tweeted this out as well. People being frustrated and all that type of deal, but telling other people what they should do as fans is crazy to me, especially when it comes to their pockets. Telling people they shouldn't donate, telling people they shouldn't go to the games, when a lot of people on the timeline don't donate or don't go to the games themselves, is just crazy to me. Again, if you're donating and if you want to pour your money from FSU, you got every right to pull your money from FSU, this, that, and the third. But don't tell the next person what they should do with their money or how they should support the program, especially when you don't have any skin in the game. When I say skin in the game, you're not a booster, you're not donating, or you're not, going to the games and buying merch and all that type of deal. And I'm pretty sure the FSU, when people say the FSU don't hear the fans and they're not listening to the fans, I get it, but at the same damn time, I do realize that the fans on social media is just a bucket in the drop for FSU in regards to the fandom. I do think FSU is listening to the fans. They're just listening more so to the fans that got the checkbooks. I mean, simple as that. That's just the facts of life and how things go. The people that cut the most money and spend the most money typically get hurt the most in regards to their concerns and things like that. And my take from this whole keeping Mike Norvell thing is the people with the actual money, um, they spoke about it and they want to keep them. So if you're going to be in regards to that, as far as you don't want to donate, that's perfectly fine. But don't tell people what they should do or shouldn't do with their money. Hey, we got a caller on. Nathan, how you doing?
How you doing, brother? How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Yeah, we're terrible. I mean, it's sad that being a fan for almost all my life, seeing how bad this program has become is just sad and honestly pathetic, in my opinion. Am I surprised about Nobel being retained? No, because I kind of said before to you, I don't think FSU has the money to fire Nobel. I don't believe that. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I become believe like I feel that they cannot fire him, pay his buyout, hire a coach that everybody wants, either a Jimbo or Franklin, then pay for their co offense and defensive play coordinators. It's like we don't have the money, so it's my worst kind of go ahead and hire him. And honestly, bro, I don't trust for them to do them better next year. Like I haven't seen like their schedule yet, so I don't know what's going on. But like I say, at least like we're probably more of a again 5-win team, maybe six. It depends on who we play, on who we recruit. But bro, like at the end of the day, bro, I'm a fan. I will always be a fan of the program, and I hope for the best going forward. But right now, man, I don't have any hope for it. So
Nah, man. I mean, shit. I can't blame you at all. I mean, you have every right to feel that way, and they've done. Yeah, what have they done to kind of prove you differently, right? So I'm with you
really
100%
nothing,
on
bro.
that.
It's like it's sad that fact that everybody talking about the 5 stars for players, which I agree. But like I haven't seen any player that's in this class now of the 26 class. Like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to Florida State and prove myself. No, I don't see nothing like that. I mean, nothing wrong. I mean, I'm not having the players we have now that's coming, but like, point blank, we need some dogs at FSU. I haven't seen any dog players coming at that school in the past 2 years. And honestly, bro, I'm not used to that, seeing that. So, that is on Nobel, that is on all the coordinators, bro. So like just I will hope that things will be better, but at the same time, bro, I don't. So,
Can't say I blame you for those feelings, man. I mean, shit. You seen 6 years of 6 years is more than a sample size to have a feeling one way or another. So again, I can't blame you for how you feel. They haven't shown anything any different. So I'm with you.
all right, brother. Well, thank you for letting me call, bro, and I appreciate you, man. And go knows.
Go knows. Well, appreciate you joining.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Nathan. Appreciate you joining the call. Again, if you guys, anybody else want to join the show and get their takeoff, we have the call-in portion available. The link is right there. Again, hit that link if you guys want to join in and get your takeoff. And see, that's kind of my point, man. And that's kind of my point in regards to how do you sell this. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a tough job this off season in regards to getting that excitement going, getting the ticket sales going, and that type of deal. So Alfred and this company, hopefully they have a plan in place to try to do that because it's going to be tough as hell. All right. I don't think anybody else wants to join. We'll probably end up wrapping this up pretty quickly. Shout out to Jake Hutchison. I'm gonna read your comment just because I think it's hilarious, and I don't blame you. Jake said if I hop in, I'll rant like a lunatic. Probably best I wait till I'm not so furious. Hey, I understand you completely, brother. I get it. I definitely understand it. All good. All right, guys. So it is what it is at this point. Yep. All right, guys. Make sure you get again. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Again, it takes 2 seconds out of your time. There's like 1,700 people in here hanging out. Again, I do recognize the majority of you guys are on X. If you guys could come over to the YouTube, I appreciate that. Show a little love and hit that like button and subscribe to the Dope Talk community if you haven't already. We do have like I said, we have the Florida game coming up pretty damn soon. Oh, we got one more speaker. We're going to go ahead and get them going in. I think it's Zarel. If I'm pronouncing it, my apologies. Zarel, what's good? Talk to me.
Yes, sir. How you doing, CJ? Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Well, Zarel, I can't hear you on my end. My apologies, but go ahead and get your take off. Talk your stuff, man. Let people hear what you got to say.
Yes, sir. Sir.
I hear you now. Yeah, my apologies. Go ahead.
Good. So obviously was a bit disappointed by the news. I've been a huge Norvell supporter. Moves he made this past off season. Um, Kind of just piggybacking off what you said. I don't know how collectively we sell or what we're gonna sell going into next season. But really, I had a question for you, and if I missed it, forgive me for re-asking. Your thoughts at the quarterback position, and kind of how we've gone about it in the last couple of years, in terms of the transfer portal. Would you like to see us developing more talent within our own program? And your thoughts at that position going into next season?
Yeah, so of course the quarterback position has been underwhelming for my Norvell, and it could be the most damning thing within his tenure at FSU. And pull something up real quick. Just kind of go through, just to kind of give you guys the names we've had at quarterback over the last few years at FSU from a recruiting standpoint, right? All right, so we have Kevin Sperry for the 2025 cycle. I like Kevin a lot. We have Luke Cromerhawk 2024 cycle. We have for the 2023 cycle, we had Brock Glenn. 2022, we had, my apologies, I'm taking a long time. It's going through the list right now. 2022, we had Any minute now. We had AJ Duffy in 2022. So in the list goes on and on. We have shit. Yeah, AJ Duffy in 22. In 21, we had what Luke, not Luke Cromahawk. We didn't get a quarterback in 2021. Shit.
That's crazy.
Didn't get a quarterback in 2021. 2000, that's right. We didn't get a quarterback in 2021. 2020, we took two quarterbacks, which was Mike Norvell's first recruiting cycle.
Hmm.
Chuba Purdy, we seen how that played out. And of course, Tate Rodemaker. We seen
Right.
how that played out. So again, we seen how Mike Norvell has been recruiting the quarterback position these last few during his tenure at Florida State. It's been terrible, completely
Right.
terrible. Looking at the transfer quarterbacks, we have what Tommy Castellano, who's okay. He's not great or he's not bad. He's just okay. He's average. Tommy Castellano, DJU, who's been pretty much terrible, right?
Right.
Terrible. And then the saving grace is Jordan Travis, who was kind of blessed with. So if you look at the recruiting from transfer portal to high school, it's been terrible under Mike Norvell, right? And that falls under Norvell, Tozarks, and things like that. My apologies. What was your second part of the question? I'm just baffled how terrible
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, no. Wait. So the second part was, I mean, I know you just kind of gave your thoughts on Tommy, and I think that's probably shared by a lot of us.
Yeah,
But with
Tommy.
the
Yeah,
inability
yeah,
to,
what we have now. My bad.
no, you good, you good. Just but with the demonstrated inability of our head coach to develop talent at that position, is Tommy just kind of the best option by default going into 2026?
He could be the best option by default going into 2026 because you kind of, I guess, you know what you have, good and bad,
Yeah.
and you can kind of build with that going into year two. The one of the main things with you want to have consistency and continuation within the quarterback position, right? You want to. And Tommy's probably the best chance for that. Now, someone like Kevin Sperry, who I think would be pretty damn good, if he
Yeah.
develops over the spring practice and you like that, then you can kind of roll with that as well too, right? He may be
Mhm.
one of the few quarterbacks that Norvell has recruited that I think can be pretty damn good. But on the flip end, say if you go transfer portal quarterback, right? Do you really want to kind of hedge your bets on which seems like I'm gonna say seems like because we thought that you win a certain amount of games this year that he could have been fired, or lose a certain amount of games this year that he could have been fired. That wasn't the
Mhm.
case, but I'm gonna assume that going into this 2026 season, that Norvell will probably be on the hot seat, right? Do you
Yeah.
want to, I guess, hedge your
Stop the
bets?
cap.
Exactly, you might be capping on that, man. But do you want to kind of hedge your bet on a new quarterback or a transfer quarterback, 1 year rental, so to speak, on that, and you don't really kind of know what you get within that. So
Mhm.
I see both flips on the coin. And on the flip end, shit, if you got a motherfucker in that transfer portal who's really like that, you go get them, right? And then
Absolutely.
that could change everything. Because I do think looking at the offense this year, the biggest issue with the offense this year was has been the inconsistencies passing the football. You
Right.
look at the biggest struggle last year. It was a lot of fucking struggles last year. I'd say probably offense line was number one, but quarterback was right behind him at number two, right?
Hmm.
Right behind him at two. So if you fix that, the quarterback can change a lot of things. We saw what happened to Cam Ward in Miami, how Miami was terrible last year. Defense was terrible. But Cam Ward was so damn good, right? And he just pretty much willed them to whatever record they had last year due to being so good. So you see that
1,000%.
type of situation. So to answer your question, bro, it's kind of hit or miss because it just depends on kind of who entered the portal and what you kind of, I guess, what and who enters the portal and how you attack it. But on the flip end, if Gus Malzahn doesn't take the Arkansas job, then I'm thinking it's a no-brainer that Tommy will be back for FSU. They're already trying to work to get the waiver back.
Hmm.
Mike Norvell being retained was the first step. Gus not taking the Arkansas job or taking the Arkansas job will pretty much tell us who will be our quarterback for the 2026 season.
Most definitely. Hey, bro, I appreciate you taking the time. Go Noles. We rock with them no matter what.
Appreciate you, bro. Go
Yes, sir.
Nose.
I
But
want to
yeah,
come in real quick, CJ, as a rare occurrence. So haven't they kind of just stated, you know, they're saying that they're gonna retain Norvell and put money into player retention and player, I guess, acquisition, right? That's kind of what they said in their statement. So would they not just go into the Oklahoma model of, like Oklahoma went out and got John Mateer, right? He was the most sought after quarterback. Are they not saying that's what they're going to do? Because if they don't do that, they've kind of lied to us again, right?
Yeah, that's a good damn point in regards to that. Harlan, I'm sorry, were you talking to me or were you talking to the people?
I'm on the full, everybody can hear me.
Okay. Now that's a good damn point, Harlan, in regards to that, because how they're talking, they're saying that that's their approach. But I have to see it first, man, because Bud made a good damn point in regards to Alfred. Alfred's pretty much been against all of this as far as just paying these kids a crazy amount to kind of come. He's been under the I guess you could say that whole NFL look to where you got a cap and this is what the money you got $20 million, allocate that $20 million however you want to, and that's just it. So
Yeah,
I
but they
think
got
they're
LSU and Florida coming out saying they've offered Kiffin a $25 million NIL cap. So there's no way they're not seeing that
right.
and
So you
saying,
see
oh,
that, I
that's not
mean,
right.
what are we doing? Like, how do you compete? So that could be in. We're talking about a lot of thoughts in regards to Alfred previously as well too, and a lot of these FSU boosters they weren't really too keen to NIL, but shit, what fucking choice do you have, right? When seeing how the landscape of college football is going, you have no choice but to make that decision and be a component within that factor, or you get left behind even more, like you stated. LSU, Florida, they're promising this amount of money to Lane Kiffin in regards to, I guess you could say, player allotment, so to speak. They're saying this is going to be what you're going to be what you're going to be getting. Ole Miss already has that in place. That's why he's asking for such and such, because Ole Miss already has that in place as far as this is your NIL money. You're getting this regardless. Allocate that however you want to, this, that, and the third. So again, this is what college football is becoming. So FSU, if you want to if you want to be competitive and not become a dinosaur and get left behind, you gotta come with it from that perspective. And on the flip it, you gotta have motherfuckers in place too that know to do with the money and aren't just getting the money and being irresponsible with it. So that goes to my whole take about Derek Ray and possibly getting a new GM and getting somebody else that has a different perspective in regards to how to build a team.
Yeah, and I guess I'll be the last caller of the night. I would just say that when I read that statement that they put out, right? Obviously, I'm pissed, like everybody else is in the comments. Everybody on Twitter, everybody's pissed, right? They don't think that that's the standard FSU, regardless. Um, but they're saying, the funds are going to be to player retention, player addition, or whatever verbatim they use to describe it. If I'm an FSU fan, I expect a big name at quarterback or somewhere in the portal. Like, and if they don't do that, I feel like they are lying again, right? I feel like they're not doing what they said they were going to do by retaining Norvell, right? Because if not, they should have just fired him. Because if you're not going to put more money into the portal or into high school, then you've lied to us again, in my opinion.
Correct. No, I agree. I agree. You have to put action behind those words, and in the words they put out there, you literally got to put action behind those words, or the fans will know if you're lying or not. So I agree with you. And shout out to my guy, man. We got a special caller on right here. We got Rob DeLoach Jr. My guys, you guys know Rob is the father of former great FSU linebacker Caleb DeLoach. Always a good time to chop up with him and always give a good perspective on things. So Rob, talk to me. How you doing, brother?
Hey, how y'all doing, man? Can you hear me?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Hear you loud and clear.
Great show so far, man. Been listening to a lot of callers and things like that. Hey, I'm lost for words myself, man. I've watched quite a bit of the FSU football. I've listened to a lot of commentary. Hopefully, these young guys can put it together, and the administration sees something that most fans don't see. Um, I have a lot of questions, but I'll just say this, and it's no shade. I haven't seen a recruit in Savannah since 2022.
Hmm.
And we've had three number one players in the country come out of Savannah, Georgia with Nolan Smith, Elijah Griffin, and now LaDamian Guyton. And I haven't seen a recruiter here in Savannah since 2023. Now, I will say this. I don't know who the recruiter is in our area. And that's not good because Clemson, LSU, Auburn, Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, they randomly come to Savannah, and we, it's a matter of just picking up the phone and say, "Hey, Coach, we coming to town. We want to stop by the gym and just see what you guys got." But I haven't seen anybody from FSU, and I feel very, very, very bad. Considering we do have ball players here that unfortunately they're gonna have to face in the next 2 or 3 years.
So, and it's crazy that you're saying this because me even talking for how long, right? And you've been sending me players on top of players over the years from Savannah saying FSU should reach out to this guy. Clemson is talking to him. Tennessee is talking to him. So
Miami.
Miami has been shopping in Savannah consistently, and you've been saying that for years. Like I remember these conversations vividly,
Hmm.
and the wild part about it is how hard FSU makes recruiting, right? Recruiting is all about relationships, all about relationships. So you got someone like a Robert DeLoach, who's a staple in Savannah, who has a hand on a lot of these kids.
All
His
of them.
son, his son is one of the better linebackers FSU has had in recent history. So what better way to sell great talent within the Savannah area by reaching out to a relationship and levying that relationship and having you, hey, FSU was good to my son, good to my family, this and the third. This is what you could do, that type of deal. But they're not using those type of relationships. Not James Coleman in Jacksonville, for example. James played at Florida State in Jacksonville, right down the road. He's a Mandarin, has a levy of kids, D1 type of kids at Mandarin. I've even tweeted out Mandarin is FSU's into the foreseeable future due to that layup, should be layup as far as relationship. But even with James, they don't use him how they should as far as reaching out to him, getting in contact with these Jacksonville kids, and using the relationship that you have. So we make things so much harder by not using these relationships that's right in front of us.
And part of it, CJ, you know this as well as most people. Hell, I took Kalen to James for evaluation.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Back in 2018, just to make sure that he was FSU material. And
Mm-hmm.
James, signed off on, and the rest is history. So I've learned from you guys on what FSU talent looks like, and I've been a fan most of my life of the great Derek Brooks and those guys to know what it looks like. But for some reason, they bypass us, and then everybody else comes and sit in the gym, and it's crazy because I they never asked me about the last guy they recruited from Savannah. That's all I say. I won't throw out names. It's not fair to the young person, but they made that decision, and hopefully, that decision didn't work out in our favor for a kid from Savannah. But I mean, that's just one. And we have a plethora of kids, and just to give up some advertisements, we start kids off in the 7th grade. So our
Mm-hmm.
new class starts December 1st, and I mean, if FSU doesn't want them, then definitely there's a plethora of coaches in the Southeastern Conference and the ACC that come to Savannah on a regular basis. And
Again, if you
now,
don't want them, that's perfectly fine. That's cool with me.
yeah,
If you don't
that's
want them,
fine. They're
right,
gonna go somewhere.
exactly. If you
Texas
do
Tech,
diligence on
Texas
it,
Tech got LaDamian out of here. He's going all the way to Texas Tech, and he's the number one player in the country, and we couldn't even get him on campus.
right, couldn't even get them on campus. That's terrible. Do your due diligence on it. Recruit these kids, and if it's not a fit, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
But if you're not doing your due diligence in the first place, and then they go to all these P5 schools and explode when they could be 4 hours down the road, then that's an issue. And going back to your last point about say a player, that player was committed to FSU pretty much his freshman year, from his
yeah.
freshman year throughout. Like, there's no way you don't levy that relationship, your relationship, and still try to get more within the area. It makes no sense at all to me.
I can hit the corner of the goalpost if you give me enough chances, if that's what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that don't win games,
Exactly. Agree
you
100.
know. And then you got to know that the kid never played. He didn't start playing varsity football starting to his senior year, so he didn't have a bunch of high school film on playing the position.
Nope. And we see the end result of that. But
Yeah,
again, like, that goes back to the the evaluation part of it, right? That goes back to the evaluation part. You could throw all the money in the world to certain areas, but if you're not evaluating right in the first place, that money would be misused, just like it was misused previously.
yeah. So like I said, hopefully we find out who the recruit is for our area, and try to build a relationship with them. Unfortunately, they got to play catch up. We
Right.
even had Kentucky, come to the gym. It's crazy. We've had beat writers come all the way from Texas, and somehow they found out what the gym was because we don't post it, but they know where all the dogs are. And I mean, he came all the way from Texas, University of Texas, trying to get a kid to flip from LSU to come to Texas.
But yeah, Tallahassee, Florida, though, can't find itself in Savannah and be diligent in one of the more fertile recruiting grounds in recent years in Georgia. Makes no sense to me at all.
Kamari Lassiter is I coached the kid since he was 5 years old. We couldn't get him on campus. Now he's starting with the Houston Texans. Warren Brinson came at Georgia. He's with Green Bay Packers. Nolan, we got 3 guys in the league from Savannah in the last 5 years,
Right. Come
and
on,
3 of
man.
them were the number one players in the country.
Right.
So we doing something right down here in the saltwater area.
You're doing a lot right, in my opinion. A lot right.
You
Again,
know,
it's crazy because, like I said, we've been having these conversations, and you said multiple times, you sent me clips multiple times. Hey, this kid's going to be here. Can you reach out? Whatever it may be. Like throughout the years, I've seen the number of kids that have come through Savannah, and I've seen the number of kids that haven't been contacted by FSU at all when they're FSU caliber.
we unfortunately we got a kid going to Clemson that that is a Tyler Davis type kid that played at Clemson, right? And we passed on Tyler Davis for a kid that didn't even make it through the program.
Come on, man. Right.
Tyler's playing with the Rams, and this kid that's going to Clemson was dunking the basketball in the 8th grade.
And FSU hasn't reached out at all, right?
No, he's already committed now. We're gonna have to see him next year. He's enrolling in January.
Yeah, and it's too late. Once they commit to Clemson, you can kiss the
It's
baby.
over. Yeah, it's over. So I mean, I don't know. I would love to understand why they bypass the area or they don't take it serious, but everybody else does. So enough on that, man. I wish we can turn it around, and I look forward to sitting in the stadium and seeing what the product looks like for 2026.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out, but it definitely starts the program. The lifeblood of the program starts with recruiting, and recruiting is all about relationships and how you levy those relationships. And when you have, and that's the disappointing part about it, when you have success stories like a Kalen DeLoach and that type of deal, and you don't use that to your advantage, you make things harder when it should be easier. That's the frustrating part about it. And again, it's funny because you're echoing the many, right? You're not the only one who feels like I say, James down in Jacksonville has stated the same things. People down in Miami that said the same things as well. We make things harder than what they should be on a recruiting front, and that's just using and levying relationships across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Jacksonville on Sunday. It's an hour and a half. James
Hmm.
and I frequently talk about kids that play on the 7-on-7 team from the Savannah area. So it's all about the relationships. But and I know we both want to help Florida State win. And if we can
Right,
get kids, from 4 hours away, their parents can come see them. And I'm gonna leave on this note here. And I think the biggest gap from what I'm hearing from parents is that they don't have that parent relationship. You can't only recruit the kid. You got to recruit great parents. You got to see what the character of the parents is because and I can only speak from my experience. The players are the players, but I always looked at what type of parents they were recruiting because that plays a vital role when things get tough,
right,
right? And they like to stay away from the parents because they consider them young adults, but who knows their kid better than the parents who's been with them 18, 19 years, more so than the coaches only maybe sat in the living room maybe one time
right.
or twice, and a position coach more so than the head coach.
Hmm.
You gotta change your thought process because it's a new day now. And if
I
you're
agree.
not recruiting the parents as hard as you're recruiting the kid, then these kids are going to stay 6 months, get their NIL money, and they're going to be going to another school in January.
No, that's a really good point. A really good point. And on the flip end too, in regards to recruiting the parents and kind of getting more involved in their relationship, you really know what type of kids you're recruiting, and you kind of make a decision moving forward, good or bad, on that. So I agree with you 100%.
All right, Ryan. Great show, man. Keep up the great work, man. You know I'm here if you need me.
Most definitely, man. Much love. I always appreciate you coming on and showing that love, man.
All right. Peace
Appreciate
out,
you.
brother.
Yes, sir. real good information, real good insight from hold up. Oh no, you saw shout out my guy Wig, man. Hold up. We just lose the Parks just decommit? Damn. Yeah, that's tough. Tough loss for FSU. Me and Wig was just actually talking on the phone earlier about Parks and a guy that we thought could possibly compete for FSU pretty early. Just decommitted from FSU. Tough loss for FSU, but I will say I do. If he end up staying, I do think Herb Hand is a pretty damn good coach, and he could possibly get something going in regards to that. But yeah, we just lost a decommitment from one of our better offensive line commitments in Parks, in Deron Parks, 6'5", 310 pounds. So big loss for FSU right there. All right, guys. Yeah, I guess we end the show on that disappointing breaking news. Yeah, because I really like this kid a lot. Yeah. We'll see what Herb Hand has in store. He definitely has to make a move now. But again, from an offensive standpoint, from an offensive line standpoint, what we've been, I guess, the board we've had. We'll see how things play out up until signing day. This staff did put a rabbit out of their hat last signing day. We'll see if they can do this signing day. Shout out my guy, Papoose for real. I answer this before we get up out of here. I'm curious how many high school takes we had. I don't know. It's no limit pretty much because that new rule, that new scholarship limit rule is pretty much out the window. So they can take as many as they want. So I have no clue. It's just all about fitting, pretty much fit. I want them to stack up defense linemen and keep adding that. So it just pretty much depends on fit and need and what they're allocating towards high school, how many they're allocating towards the portal and that type of deal. So to answer that question, I don't know. But there's no cap on it. So that's why we have such a high commitment list right now. I think we have currently, how many commits do we have currently on deck? We have currently 28 commits. So I can see around 30 or so kids and wouldn't be surprised about it at all. All right, guys, that's all we have. Again, really enjoyed the show. We hung out pretty good. Last call for callers. If not, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Again, we got over around 2,300 people. I'm pretty sure most of you guys viewing, the 2,300 that's viewing, are on the YouTube. I'm sorry, the Twitter portion of the show or the broadcast. If you could come over to the YouTube portion, hit that like button. Takes 2 seconds out of your time to show a little bit of love and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't. We hang out like this in regards to lives and that type of deal. We do have an upcoming pre-record interview previewing the Florida game. Previewing the Florida game this upcoming weekend for rivalry weekend. Shout out to my guy Graham Hall from Gator 247. He will be on to discuss the Florida Gators. Again, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Go Noles.